to the library for supporting us in our creative work. This is one of the few places that I know of that enables us to do these hybrid classes where we can do art here in person at the Hoboken Library and also at home in the comfort and privacy of your own studio, no matter where you are. We have people from all over the United States now, I'm proud to say. Pretty terrific. We are in September and we have launched into our celebration of Hispanic American Heritage Month, Latino Heritage American Month. But in this class, at this point, we are also celebrating the beginning of the fall season and what I often think of as a season of refreshment and renewal, kind of the back to school period of time. And because of that, we are looking at the basic skills of drawing. For many of you here, what I call my veteran students, this is a refresher course for you. Some of the skills that I have been teaching over the past few weeks and also today are old things for you, but they bear repeating. For many of you here today, this will be all brand new information. So it doesn't matter if you are beginners or veterans to this type of work. A lot of what I'm going to be teaching today and in the past and in the upcoming weeks are based on information from this book called Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain. And also, did I bring it with me today? Yes. This book, Nicolaides, The Natural Way to Draw, both books which I recommend highly. I believe the Hoboken Library has at least one copy of Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain, so you can take it out. You can also find both books quite easily on Amazon. All right, today we are going to launch into a very important skill called perspective drawing. We're going to start with the most basic form of perspective drawing called one-point perspective. This is a drawing skill that has been around since the beginning of time, since Renaissance time. And it was invented by the Renaissance artists. It is a mathematical way of seeing the world. It is not my preferred way of drawing, but it is a helpful thing to know about if you want to learn to draw realistically. So I'm going to teach it to you. You can learn it, and then if you like, you can reject it. But having it in your toolkit of drawing skills is a useful thing to have. We are going to look at a slideshow first and then a short video in which an artist is going to demonstrate for you how he uses one-point perspective. And I think that that's the best way for me to teach you. I may do a short demo on how I use one-point perspective as well. And then we're going to do our own drawing exercise in one-point perspective. Any questions so far? Cool. Anybody here? Everybody can hear me, right? I feel like my volume today, my energy level seems a bit low. You want me to use the mic? No. You can hear me fine, Pat? Okay, good. All right, so I'm going to start the share screen. And, oh, I know why it's not here. I minimized it. So I'm going to stop this. And here we go with our slideshow. Everyone at home, you can see this, correct? Okay, let's see if I can get rid of the toolbar first. No. Laura, if I hit hide video panel, will that? I am in more. Yeah, I don't see hide floating. Oh, here it is. Perfect. Wonderful. I finally figured out how to do that. Woohoo. Okay, so here we go with the slideshow. 1 point perspective. So in the slideshow, I'm going to show you examples of how 1 point perspective is used in drawing. So this is a lovely drawing of a landscape in which 1 point perspective is used very effectively. And there are some things that I want you to notice. In the foreground or front of the image, one of the first tips with 1 point perspective is the figure. Notice that the figure is large, even though obviously the trees are bigger than the figure, as they would be in life. The figure is large in relation to everything else in the picture. The other thing to notice is that the opening, the entrance to the roadway is quite large too. The mouth of the road fills up the entire front of the picture. And that is because when you stand at the beginning of a road and you're facing out towards the horizon, everything does look bigger. Things that are close up to you do look bigger. And that is a trick that the Renaissance artists realized. It was a revelation to them that in order to create a three-dimensional illusion of space on a flat two-dimensional surface like a canvas, you had to recreate that. And the way to recreate that illusion of space was to make everything in the foreground, in the front, big. And as things recede into the back of the image, they shrink and get smaller. So as you go back into the horizon, the background of the picture, things get smaller and smaller and smaller. Notice the way the trees get shorter and shorter and shorter as you go back in space. As the road goes back towards the horizon, it gets narrower and narrower and narrower. The opening of the space gets smaller. Everybody able to see that? Good. That's the first thing to notice about 1 point perspective. And before Renaissance artists, everything in art was flat and two-dimensional. Artists didn't realize that or see that yet. In this photograph, it's really obvious, right? And this is a photograph, so this really proves that in reality, our eye makes us see this diminution, this shrinking of size and shape as it recedes back into space. And we can do that on the page. And this is what Renaissance artists realized. Artists before them did not get it. They didn't understand that. And the real tip in this picture is if you look at the dashes in the middle of the road, they get smaller and smaller and smaller until finally you don't see them at all. The yellow dashes, the divided line in the middle of the road. In the foreground, in the front of the picture, they're big, right? But as you recede back, they get smaller and smaller and smaller until they disappear. Even the mountain in the background, which you know intellectually in your mind, the mountain is huge, but because it's in the background, it appears to be smaller than the road in the foreground of the picture. And that's the trick that Renaissance artists realized. And that's what perspective is all about. All of it in a nutshell. The incredible V shape of this road is about perspective too. Both sides of the road are going back into space to one point on the horizon line. The horizon line is where the folks here, you're going to be able to see this. Folks at home, I'm going to show you on the video in a moment. But this is the horizon line here, where the mountain meets the land, and the sides of the road converge at one point here. And we call this the vanishing point, where everything vanishes back into space. So folks at home, the two sides of the road are creating a V shape back towards the horizon, where the bottom of the mountain reaches the earth, the edge of the earth. And the two sides of the road come to what we call the vanishing point. All right, here we go. More in the slideshow. The same rule applies with everything. Here's a beach scene. Notice the way the fencing on either side of this walkway is larger in the foreground, and it gets smaller and smaller and smaller as you get further back in space. Here is a photograph of a canal in Venice. Notice the lines. There is a red line across the middle. That's what artists call the horizon line. It is horizontal across the middle of the image. That is where the sky meets the water in this image. The purple lines that are radiating out from the red line are what we call the vanishing lines. And they are coming out from one point, one vanishing point. And all of the angles in the buildings are dependent on those purple lines. And the Renaissance artists figured that out too. Now, this is the line that really lays it out for you. The black horizontal line at the back of the picture is what we call the horizon line. All of the other lines in the picture are coming from that one point in the middle. That is our vanishing point. This is a one-point perspective drawing. All of the angles in the picture are dependent on that one point. And here again, it's very dramatic in this picture. Everything is going back to that one vanishing point. I'm going to go through these quickly now because I want to get to our video. Another drawing where the same rule applies. And another. You can find millions of these online. So now we're looking at an actual Renaissance drawing where there is only one vanishing point. All the lines that you see in this incredibly precise geometric drawing are dependent on one vanishing point at the back horizon of this drawing. It's pretty incredible. I have no idea. It could be fictitious. This drawing could be an imaginary building. I don't know. Oh, where is the vanishing point? It's right here. It's right in the middle, that middle column. Okay, so this is a very famous painting by Leonardo da Vinci, great Renaissance painter. It too is a one-point perspective image. And I'm showing you this because you can use one-point perspective on